People ask me every day, John, with everything that's going on in the world, what can I do? My answer? Start growing your own food. It's the best investment for your future and the future of your family. Whether you live in an apartment or have your own land, our friends at Food Forest Abundance will guide you every step of the way. Book your free consultation right now, no strings attached. Just click the link down below and get started today. I want to share an experience that I have barely ever talked about publicly, but I feel like it's time to do it. It shifted everything in my life. It was an experience unlike any other I had before. It opened my path to so many truths. It was years ago where I started experimenting with different meditations, guided, non-guided, and going more specific with intention into a meditation. And one of those periods involved the activation of the pineal gland. Pineal gland is kind of, in the center of the head, and it has often been called the third eye. Other people say the third eye is something different. Be that as it may. The pineal gland activation meditation, I was doing it for days, and I knew I wasn't getting there. It's a quite simple process, but it requires some practice and also dedication and focus. But basically, you're learning to move your breath up into your brain, and then you're learning at the same time to bring your spinal fluid and passing the spine-brain barrier. And then basically, in your mind, it's almost like the breath is meeting the spinal fluid right in the pineal gland, and that's what activates it. That's the theory, right? And for days and days, I was sitting there every day, every morning, 3:30 in the morning, 4, whenever I woke up, and I was doing that meditation. And I was having some beautiful experiences, but I knew it wasn't the thing yet. And so it must have been the 5th or 6th day, I don't know. And I was just trying again. And it was, when you've been trying something for a while, it kind of, you become a try-hard. You try harder, which doesn't help at all when you want to do anything in meditation. But so I was sitting there, and it just wouldn't happen, and I would try harder. I have this athlete mind, that kicks in. Come on, you can do it. And eventually, after 15, 20 minutes, I don't know how long of trying, I said, fuck it, I'm done. I'm just gonna sit here and be. And the voice said, literally, it was a voice in my mind I heard said, do it again, I'll guide you. And I was like, okay, good, I can vibe with that. So I sat up straight, started breathing in, and I started hearing the guidance of go deeper, more, now pull it up. Now it was kind of technical, but it was very easy to follow. It was just instructions in my mind. And within a few, maybe it was 2 minutes, 3 minutes of this breath exercise, all of a sudden it was like an explosion of light in my mind, in my brain, and through my whole body. It was something unlike anything I've ever experienced before. And as intense as it was, it felt so incredibly easy. It was like light was overflowing and all through my body. And the voice did stay with me. And after this first sensation kind of subsided, it didn't subside really. I got used to it. I want to say that. The voice said, now follow me. And I knew I was basically, in my experience, I was leaving my body. And I was entering the field, whatever that means to you. To me, it's like I was entering infinity. I was really starting to float in infinity. And that voice said, follow me. And basically, with every time the voice said, follow me, and I kept following, I lost more weight, if you will. Everything became light. Everything became less physical, less dense, very ethereal. And I was floating in that field of infinite peace and love and ease. And that was the exact opposite of what I had in my physical life at that time. My physical life was tough. There was a lot of challenges, a lot of things I had no solution for. It was very tough. So I was so enjoying this beautiful moment of peace. And eventually, after I had been there for a while, the voice said to me, what do you want? And I'm like, what do you mean, what do you want? And the voice said, what do you want? So I started thinking, but it is a different kind of thinking when you're in the field. It's like very effortless. And I was thinking of some of the problems that I was facing in my physical life. So I was like, a solution for this would be fine. And the voice said, done. And it was a small thing, right? So the voice said, what else do you want? And I thought of another thing, still fairly small. The voice said, done. And the voice kept saying, what else do you want? And I would imagine something bigger, right? Something that was out of reach for me at that time in my perception. The voice said, done. And we kept playing that game. The voice always asked, what do you want? I named it. The voice said, done. And I was starting to realize that it did not matter how big my desire was, how big my wish was, how big the thing was that I imagined to the voice. And in that field, it made absolutely no difference what I said. Everything was possible. Everything was doable. Everything was achievable. Everything was manageable. And I started laughing in my mind. And maybe I laughed in my body. I don't know, because I had no memory of what my body was doing while I was in the field. And I had this experience of floating, and it came to me that all the steps I had learned before, all the things I had studied, and all the books I had read, and all the spiritual scripture, and everything had led me to this point of what creation or co-creation might be. And I realized that in the field of infinite possibilities, nothing is hard. It doesn't matter whether it's healing from the most severe illness or creating a palace. It's all the same in the field. The mechanisms are all the same. There's no difficulty there. And I realized in that moment, it's all us. We are the ones standing in the way or getting out of the way. All these realizations came while I was in the field. And at some point, the experience was complete because I had no more questions. I felt like I could access any answer I ever wanted in that field. And so knowing that this was always available to me now, that I had entered a new level of experience in my life, I started making my way back into physical reality, right? And so when I started coming back into present moment awareness and into my body, I was starting to think, well, man, I was gone for like 20 minutes or so. This was really, really cool. And so I looked at the clock, and it was like an hour and a half or 2 hours later. So I'd been in that field for 2 hours, and it all just went by like this. And when I came out of it, and later Christine got up that morning, and I shared my experience with her, and I was just smiling. I was laughing for days and days. I just had this smile on my face and nothing felt hard anymore or difficult or challenging. It just felt, I had this ease. It's like I was born again, and another part of me died. In that experience, a part of me died. It was that part that was attached to all the ego things in life, how you accomplish something. And that other part got fully activated. So I couldn't go ever back to who I was before. Not even, not after this one singular experience, I could never go back to who I was before. And it's not like my life just magically changed after that. It was a perpetual moving forward, a perpetual unfolding, but I never got back into fear or panic or worry again, ever. I never felt that again. And slowly, some things fast, some things slower, all the things that I had asked for, or I was asked, what do you want, started appearing in my life. And they came quite effortlessly compared to before. But it wasn't even about that for me. It wasn't about the material things. Those were good because the problems I had accumulated, I started seeing solutions for that. What really became clear to me in this explosion of information that we have all experienced over the last decades, right, where information is becoming so available, there's a lot of spiritual knowledge that has been taken, some from places where it's been kept from the masses for eons, and it's been just thrown out into the world without an initiation process, without a development, without a journey. And so a lot of people, they just saw one piece of that wisdom, that information, and pulled it out of a whole body of work, a whole body of experience. And they just understood it intellectually. They didn't have a real experience of it. And then they started teaching it and talking about it and creating whole movements and even belief systems around it, and leading people literally into a cult-like mentality. And I began to realize that unless you're willing to show up and have the experiences and have the learning, unfolding journey, and let yourself be a student, you don't know these things. You just think you know. And the greatest enemy of knowing is thinking that you know. It's not real unless it's experienced. And it leads to all kinds of wrong interpretations. And I'm not saying I have some kind of high ground now because I had this and other experiences, but I see how my perspective has changed through this experience and how my evolution has changed. And I do not ever speak on anything I don't have any personal experience of, ever. But a lot of people do. And they speak with such conviction of something they haven't really experienced. They just know it intellectually, but they haven't really felt it and haven't really gone through that. And if that isn't created. We are cutting ourselves in the heart, if you will. I kind of now think maybe it was a disservice to humanity to just have all the information, especially about the spiritual evolution, just thrown out at them. And I feel like this wasn't possible before this technological aid. It's possible now. And I feel like if people are not willing to show up for the journey, and the journey is, for me, it's an inner journey. So you show up for that meditation, or you show up for that prayer, whatever you call it, and for that spiritual connection every day, and you let that become the foundation of your life. But you have to have these experiences. I've never really spoken about this, especially not in this intensity, but ultimately, it's all about your own experience and where you allow life to take you. So I hope this was inspiring to you all. Love you all very, very much. Christine and I both want to thank you for being with us on this journey, for your support, your comments, your sharing, your love. But mainly, which is most importantly, we hope that some of the things that we share are inspiring and empowering, and that you step into your own journey fully and know you are a divine co-creator and you have God's spark within you and that you live it. All right. Much love to you all. Have a blessed and wonderful rest of this day, and we'll be back with you again very, very soon. Would you like to get access to exclusive content as well as being part of a community of like-minded people posting, sharing, and connecting on a deeper level? Come join the Inspired community on Locals, where we share more intimately and privately and do our Coffee and Truth live streams, as well as our Honey Talks show, the only inspired show with Christine Nolan. The Inspired community is absolutely uncensored and unfiltered, a place for truth, authenticity, and freedom. Join us now at inspired.locals.com or click on a link in the video description.